Being able to get into a locked computer is a very handy skill to have to access, look at, copy the documents that are on there. Today I'm going to teach you how to, in less than 2 minutes, get through a locked operating system using just a USB key drive. It's super easy. Hi, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com. This comes about from, as a professional investigator, kind of needing to know how to do this sometimes, rarely. For me personally, I had an old computer that I had forgotten the password to it. Back then, I did not encrypt my hard drives. This method I'm going to teach you only work if the operating system is locked, if the computer is locked. If the hard drive itself is encrypted, this won't work. These days, I always encrypt my hard drives. I encourage you to do the same. The key to this is creating a bootable thumb drive, just a little thumb drive, USB drive like this. And there's a lot of people online that will teach you how to do this. I'm not a computer guy. I'm not going to go deep into that. But I would say put on it a Linux operating system that's bootable. I like Ubuntu. I highly recommend it. And that's exactly what this is. This little thumb drive has a bootable system for running Ubuntu. And what I'm able to do with this, or you're able to do, plug it into the USB port on your computer. When you start up your computer, you actually start it to this USB drive instead of starting it to your hard drive. What this allows you to do is basically run a computer system, an entire operating system off the thumb drive, and the hard drive in the computer looks just like an additional drive that's connected. You see, most of the time people just put a password on the operating system to their computer and it doesn't actually do anything to protect the hard drive. When you're using a bootable USB like this, what you're doing is you're booting into an operating system that you have total and complete control over and just looking for their hard drive elsewhere in the computer. Lots of people online can teach you how to create a bootable USB drive. A Linux-based system is what I recommend, Ubuntu. Please look at their tutorials to learn how to do this. Once you have the bootable USB drive, what you want to do is you turn your computer, the computer you're trying to get into, all the way off. You insert the thumb drive into a USB port and then you turn it back on. Now, for this to work, the computer actually has to try to boot from the thumb drive, the USB port, before it tries to boot from the hard drive. You can make the computer do this by actually going into something called BIOS. It's very simple. I'll show you step by step. You go into BIOS and you just adjust the boot order. So instead of having the hard drive boot first, you ask the computer to try to boot a USB drive first. If there's a bootable USB in there, the computer will boot to that, which in this case is our operating system we have control over. Let me show you how to do that. When you start up your computer, the most common keys that are going to get you into BIOS are going to be F2, F10, F12, maybe a combination with the delete key, but look online for the specific key for your specific computer. I'm going to use the arrow keys to scroll down to the Enter Setup. This is BIOS right here. I'm going to use the arrow keys to scroll over to Boot. Now the arrow keys to select the new boot drive. Usually this is the USB drive, not going to be the CD-ROM. You can use the plus keys to move it to the top of the list. That makes it the first drive to boot when you start up. F10 to save, and Enter to save and exit. Once you've adjusted the boot order on your computer so that it's going to power up and boot from your USB drive, you put that USB drive into the powered off computer and you turn on the computer. Here's what you're going to see. So I put the USB drive into the computer, I press start, and here's what you're going to see. By the way, notice from an OSINT point of view, be careful about the reflections in your screen. You see right there my real full-time rig computer screen in my office is there in the background. But you're going to start up your computer. As it starts up, you're going to get the option to boot to that Ubuntu drive. It's either going to do that automatically or you can click enter and do that and allow it to boot up. Now, how much of this information you're seeing on the screen now is super secret computer stuff and how much is not a big deal, I don't know. I presume most of this information is just about the USB drive and not about the main computer. But part of our job as investigators and professional investigators Be smart enough to know what you don't know. I don't know what this is, so I'm not going to broadcast it all online. I will say at this moment while we're waiting, and this takes less than 2 minutes, and I'll actually speed it up a little bit from that. But don't forget, over at ShadowAnyone.com, I do have some paid courses, and I've got a free report titled, If You Want to Be a Private Investigator, Give Up Unless You Do These 3 Things. That puts you on the mail list, and you get you get exclusive stuff that most people don't see. Okay, so the desktop boots up. This is what you're going to see. You're going to have a file folder labeled Ubuntu up there in the upper left-hand corner. When you open that up, these files that you see here, documents, pictures, photos, those are empty. That's just what's on the USB drive. So what you want to do is you want to X out of that, come over, open that same folder, but look down to other locations. Click that, and I can see this humongous drive, almost a terabyte of information. If I click that, and then go over, I have all these little behind the scenes things, look for the home folder. That's going to give you, I guess, what you'd call the main directory, the owner's folder, and inside that's your documents, downloads, pictures, photos, videos, and you can see everything that's on that computer. You can open it, look at it, even copy it onto another USB drive if you want. As with everything I teach you, there's a time and a place for it. Only use this if it's legal and ethical. If you cross the lines on those things, it will eventually jam you up. I can just guarantee it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about how to do this, let me know. I'll answer as many as I can. In the meantime, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.